So I have Shara and Mandy and Ariel and Emma and Miss and Teresa so far, but I got Kay and Michaela is there, and so is Rachel.
There.
And I'm now looking for Teresa, who looks like she is now coming in. All right. Very good. So everybody survived the weekend. It can't be too bad. Okay, so here's the kind of the way I usually do these. Just first off, I'll just talk about whether you have any general questions, any questions like where the exercises are or how to post them onto D2L, or questions about the project. Just general questions. Anybody have anything? Who's hiding behind their black screens? Rachel. Must be Michaela hiding. And Deshara's hiding. So no questions from anybody? Excellent. Then let's do this. The next thing I like to do is review the homework. And as I've pointed out in the past, the homework is for the most part is going to be in the workbook, but we will actually finish the workbook and then we'll change over to handout exercises. But while we're working on the workbook, all of the answers are in the back, with the exception of a few where it's kind of an opinion question or you have to list your own examples. But otherwise, all of the answers are back there. And so what I expect you to do is to go ahead and do the exercises and post them. But I would also want you to look over the answers that are in the key in the back so that you can see where you may have some troubles. And then when you go through the keys and you compare it with your work and you still don't understand why, that's a great time to bring it up in this particular part of the class. And we will be doing this, generally speaking, throughout the semester. Now, if I don't get any questions, I'll have a few just to check on how you were doing with a few of these. But remember, you do the exercises, then go back and check them against the answer key in the back of the book or the answer keys that I will send you, and bring any questionable areas back to us. And so I would also say that if you have a question, invariably somebody else does too. So please feel free to ask the questions about the areas that you find confusing. And with that, I'm just sitting now on page 38 in the book, looking at exercise 2.23. And how did you find this one? I will call your attention to a nice technique for your ESL learners, and that is to tell you that there are 15 nouns in this passage. If you only checked 5 and it says you got 15, then you've got a pretty good indication that you've got to go back through it again. And similarly, if you went through here and when you got done, you had 20 and it says you're supposed to have 15, it's a good way to go back and say, I've got some kind of an error that I'm producing here and I need to correct it. So recognize that when they give you the number to look for, that's a great thing, not only to make life easier for you, but it's also going to make life easier for your students. So let's look at the 2.23. That's identifying the nouns. You're supposed to go through and underline the 15 nouns. How many people had way more than 15 nouns? Anybody have way more than 15 nouns? A little bit more than 15 nouns?
Which page are we in?
We're on page 38, exercise 2.23.
Oh.
So, well, let's go in here. I'm just going to jump in here and go, Teresa, tell me, what did you mark as nouns in riddle number 1?
Cat,
Cat,
box,
dogs,
cat, kitten,
kittens,
and copycat.
and copycats. Wait a minute. Baby is a noun, isn't it? Isn't baby a noun? You talk about babies, the baby cried all night, the baby wouldn't eat his peas. What do you say to that question?
Well, I feel like cats make up for it because
Well,
it's
cats don't
describing.
necessarily make up for it, but you're close. You're absolutely right. So I'm not saying you're wrong. But why isn't baby?
It's describing the cat.
It is describe. What kind of words describe?
An adjective?
Yeah. Now, baby could be a noun, but baby could also be an adjective like it is in this case. And that's where it gets kind of confusing for people because they're going to go, I know a baby is a noun, but recognize that the form of a word, like it being a noun, does not mean that it's always going to act like a noun. Can you think of how you could use baby as a verb? Kayla, can you think about how to use baby as a verb?
Stop acting like a baby?
Okay, well, no, because a baby
no,
would make
no.
a noun.
Still,
Kayla, what do you think?
Maybe say you're babying the dog.
Very good. So don't baby the dog or you're babying the dog. So we're looking at a word, baby, that could be used in a whole different bunch of ways. And you've got to watch for that because English does that all the time. Let's see, riddle number 2. Who do I want to mess with now? Aisha.
Yogurt.
Have you found the mute button yet? The unmute button?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you, what did you find as nouns in riddle number 2?
Riddle number 2, I have dog and watchdog.
You know what?
And watchdog.
Dog and watchdog. Anything else?
No, that's the only 2 I have for the
Who might come up with, can see another one? Ariel, how about you? You see any other nouns in number 2?
I thought maybe the word he.
Nope, he's going to be a pronoun. We're going to be looking at those today and going forward. So I don't think he is something we want to do. We've got dog and watchdog so far. Let us see. Deshara, any other thoughts on number 2?
I had just underlined dog and watchdog, but maybe circles.
Yes, I like circles. Circles is important. That's a good one because in circles, but everybody knows that a circle is a circle, right?
Right.
There's one more in here. Anybody got it? K Dukes?
ready.
Winding.
Winding, exactly. Now, that's a place where a minute ago we said a baby, which is normally a noun, could be a verb. And when you wind a watch, that's normally a verb. But what is it when we say winding? As Rachel and Kay said, it's acting like a noun because it needed what? It needed something. It needed something, and that something is typically a noun. So winding in this case is actually acting like a noun. And that's an important distinction. As we go along, I'm going to say many times, I'm sure, you've got to look at a word or a phrase and think about its form, what kind of a part of speech is it usually, and its function. How is it being used in this sentence or in this phrase? And so here we've had 2 big examples. Baby, which is normally a noun, could be an adjective, and winding, which is saying, if I said, I am winding my watch, it's a verb. But if I say my watch needs winding, suddenly it needs something, and something references a noun. All right, any other questions in 223? You should be able to go through there and in the end find 15 nouns. I'm going to ask one other one. What about riddle number 3 talks about the mouse has cat teeth marks. Cat, what kind of a word is cat? Normally, cat is what? Mandy.
A noun?
Is it a noun here? Did you mark it as a noun?
Yeah, I marked it as a noun. Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to go back up to where we talked about baby before. Cat is a noun, right?
Yeah.
And teeth is typically a noun. But in this case, cat teeth is doing what? What is cat teeth doing?
Is it an adjective?
describing- Exactly. It is acting like an adjective. So while cat is a noun and teeth is a noun, in this particular case, we're putting them together and it's acting like an adjective because it's describing marks. The mouse doesn't have skid marks on it. It's got cat teeth marks on it. Okay?
Yeah.
So watch out for those. Make sure you go back over the answers in the back to make sure that we've got the same answers all matched up. How about down in 2.24? I'm going to move down to the next exercise unless somebody else has a 2.23 question. Any more questions on 2.23? Cool. Let's go to 2.24. In this case, we are looking for S and words with S. What do you do with an S? What does an S do, Aiden?
Sorry, it tends to make something plural, or
Okay.
it's through an action verb.
All right. So when do you use it as on an action verb?
Like he runs if he's in, or he if somebody or something is in the middle of an action, you would
Yeah.
use it to declare that it's ongoing. He runs
All right.
would be like.
So one thing we're doing is we're marking it as something that is going on in the present tense, right? So if it's he, she, or it, or something, and we're talking about the present tense, we have to mark that verb with an S, right? Third person singular. And we can also use it to go out there and mark a noun as plural. And we could do one other thing with that S, at least from the sound perspective. Where else do we use S? Emma? I'm sorry, can you talk a little louder?
Or possessive.
For possession, right? So when we're talking and we're running through a sentence, we don't know which S it is. It sounds exactly the same, whether it's a plural S, a possessive S, or a verb S. And so somehow we are able to figure out which is which based on the context of the sentence. But our ELL students may have a great deal of problem with that. I'm going to ask just if there are any questions in 2.24. Any that raised a question for you, you can call it out by number and we can talk about them. How about number 12? I'm going to start at the top corner. Kayla, number 12. What did you mark that?
Put V.
You put a V for verb?
Yeah.
Great. How about 13? Aisha.
I'll put PL.
Great. That's what we want. We would want it to be a plural noun, right?
Yeah, okay.
Even though we normally don't talk about intelligence and put an S on it, when we're talking about this particular situation, we actually do have an S on it. You've probably, if you've taken any education classes yet, you've probably heard of Gardner and his multiple intelligences. It's kind of a weird way for us to use the word, but as Aisha said, it is definitely a plural. Ariel, how about number 24?
I put PL.
Great. And how about 25, Emma?
I put
V, great. And let's see. I think number 30, we're coming around to K-Do. 30? I'm sorry?
Possessive.
Possessive, great. So you can see that there are those differences, and we need to be able to pay attention to them. We kind of automatically know about it when we're listening to somebody, but recognize that our students probably won't be that far along. All right, any other questions on 224? Anything that leaves you wondering why the answer is marked the way it is? We good? All right, 225, identifying and editing ESL errors. Here's another bunch. What kinds of questions might you have here? Anybody have any questions on 225? How about, I'm going to continue on my screen matrix here. The next one is Mandy. What did you put down for 7?
I put the number 6, the abstract now for number 7.
Exactly, because you wouldn't expect to hear somebody who was an American English speaker say, some people believe the life is the result, right? That just doesn't sound correct. We're going to be talking about the on Wednesday. And so we're going to be looking at some rules for when do we use the and when do we not. Teresa, let's see, how about number 5?
I chose unnecessary plural.
So in every country's, right, would you expect to be talking to your parents or somebody else who's been an English speaker forever and they have them say countries? Not usually, right?
No.
Were you going to say something else?
I'm getting a call from my kid's school, so I have to
Okay.
answer it.
Ditch us for a while.
All
That's
right, I'm
fine.
sorry.
No problem. How about number 3, Rachel? You're muted. Rachel, you're muted.
I see 1 should be
1.
locals, right?
Number 3.
3, so loaf should be locals.
Not necessarily. If you went to the store and only bought 1 loaf,
Okay, so they went to store.
went to the store is fine. Juan went to the store to buy loaf of bread. Now, have you been a Mandarin speaker as a first language?
Yes.
So you, along with many other people, are going to have a particular problem with some of these things where we're missing an article. Because Mandarin doesn't have the word the, right?
No.
And it doesn't have the word a.
No.
And so for people who are Mandarin speakers, Polish speakers, Russian speakers, Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese, and are some that I can think of, they're going to have particular problems with determiners. We're going to talk about determiners on Wednesday, so I'll leave it to then. But this one really should have been number 5. There's an article missing because it should be Juan went to the store to buy a loaf of bread.
Could be a loaf of bread.
No, we wouldn't want to use the either. It's just a loaf of bread. So the word that's missing is a. Michaela? Let's see. What could we do here? Number 14. I have been in the U.S. for 5 months and I like it here very much.
I think it's omission of the plural S.
It's omission of the plural S, exactly. And how about number 15, Deshara? Each student need to get 550 on the paper-based TOEFL test.
I put 2 unnecessary plural on student.
You're absolutely correct. When we're using each, we tend to use a singular noun, each. Interestingly, even when we use every student needs. Isn't that interesting? I mean, every seems like a plural word, but it is not. It's used in front of a singular noun, just like each is. Some of these things you may never have thought of that would confuse somebody who hasn't been speaking English all their life. But in this particular case, each student, every student, any student, all of those would require those. Even the word no student needs to get 550. So keep that in mind. I'm over on 2.26. Any questions on 2.26? Common and proper nouns. Aiden is, let's see, did I skip Deshara? No, Deshara just did it. Aiden, you're on my list. Where was the first place you thought you saw a problem in exercise 2.26?
Sorry, I'm trying to find a good screen cap of it. Okay. Underline all common nouns once. Can you repeat? I don't think it was about finding problems.
Oh, you didn't, did you have any questions?
No.
Tell me what you did for the first sentence, the first line, as far as common and proper nouns.
Okay, for common nouns, I underlined views, glimpses. I double underlined West Michigan. And I regret to inform I can't really read the word after that on
Rivers.
the phone screen.
Rivers.
Rivers, okay, that was one. Lakes.
All right, that's just one. Now, here's where I'm going to throw up a red flag and go, West Michigan is a problem. Teresa, I want you had talked about this before, so I want to see if you recognize the issue this time, because you knew about it the last time. Why is West Michigan not a proper noun?
Because it's describing the rivers.
Exactly. Now, yes, Michigan would normally be a proper noun. West Michigan, I'm going to West Michigan, we could call that a proper noun. But in the case here, West Michigan is not acting like a noun, it is acting like an adjective because it's describing which rivers we're talking about. We're not talking about the rivers in southern Ohio, we're talking about the rivers in West Michigan. We could even change that and say glimpses of crooked rivers. How about that? We could throw in a clear adjective, blue rivers, crooked rivers, skinny rivers, wide rivers. So in this particular case, you've got to go back in and double check your work against the keys, but that's a common thing. People want to pick out West Michigan because it's certainly a proper noun, but it's not a proper noun in this case. There's one other place where I saw that, maybe more, but I saw one other one. Did anybody else see a place similar to that? In the next to the last row, Aisha, what do you think? Look down at the next to the last row and see if you find another place where that's an issue. Any thoughts?
images of Michigan.
I'm sorry, well, no, let's see. The thing that I'm thinking about down here is collector. Isn't collector somebody who collects? And didn't we say that nouns are people, places, and things? But here again, we've got this collector and it's kind of describing items. So while collector would normally be a noun, in this case it is not. In both of these two cases, as you're going to see on Wednesday, these are both called determiners. They're called determiners, and we're going to be looking at those in detail. So, how about 2.27? Let's see, Aisha, I talked to, where'd Aisha go? She left. Ariel, you're next to where Aisha used to be. What kind of a noun is trial in number 1? Ariel, there you go.
Is it a concrete noun?
Sure, it's a concrete noun. You could see it, you could touch it. I couldn't touch it, but you could certainly see or hear it, right? But how about justice? And I'm going to leave it with you, Ariel. What kind of a word is justice?
An abstract noun.
Yes, very good. That is absolutely for sure. All right. How about if I go down to number 3, Emma? There's 2 of them in there. Patience is a virtue, concrete or abstract?
I put abstract for patience.
Put abstract for patience?
Yeah.
And how about virtue?
Abstract as well.
Very good. So that's the way that one works. This one's relatively easy. I'm trying to think if we've got any, I know that this one always kind of confuses me. Number 7. Hey, we're coming over to you. Number 7, the fastest way to achieve inner peace is through honesty. How did you mark those 3?
Way is concrete, peace
Okay.
is abstract, and honesty is abstract.
Great. Now I'm going to say those are the right answers. Why do you think way is concrete?
Because it's not abstract.
Yes, but this, I guess that's a correct answer. But any other thoughts? What can you do with way that you can't do with success, for instance? This one confuses me all the time. You're absolutely right. It is concrete. You can see if we thought of way as direction, or we thought of way as a road or a path, we could see it, right? We could walk on it. It's almost concrete. It's concrete in that way. And peace and honesty, on the other hand, aren't concrete. Just follow up with your other answer. So those are abstract because you can't really see them, right? You can't see honesty. You can see when honesty is done, you can see an honest action, which it's hard to see honesty itself. All right, let us see. I've got a couple more people here to go. Let's see. I'm going to jump over to 2.28. You got any more questions on 2.27? 2.28. Mandy, how about cloud and lining on number 1?
For cloud, I put is a count now, and for lining, it's also a count now.
Great. So now we've jumped from concrete and abstract over to count and non-count. Let's see. We're now at Therese, the number 4. Money talks.
I put money as a non-count. And
Yeah. Can you ever think of a place where they might use monies as the plural?
no.
Okay. Well, sometimes you'll hear people talk about monies if they're talking about different countries' money, and they'll break them out like that. Sometimes you'll hear them talk about, I don't have the monies for that in my budget. So occasionally, when it could be the word funding, you'll hear, very rarely do you hear monies, but there are some times, like most of the non-count nouns, there are times when we seem to actually treat them like count nouns. How about, let's see, Rachel, barking dogs seldom bite.
Dogs count.
Count noun, you can tell it's real easy, right? Because it's got an S on there. That pretty much tells us. How about, let's see, Michaela, number 6, all that glitters is not gold.
I wrote non-count for gold.
Okay, non-count for gold, that's good, but when could you say gold? Gold is a plural. Probably only if you're really talking about gold coins, and then it's the coins that would be pluralized, not gold. And Deshara, silence is golden. Hence, you have your microphone off. Ah,
I said that silence was non-count.
very good. We don't typically hear anybody say silence, right? All right, that's the way we'll, I'm sorry?
6, glitters.
Glitters,
Is count.
where is it? Number 6, all the glitters. Glitters in this case is actually a verb. And if you think of something that sparkles, that's kind of like glitters. If light hits it and it kind of sparkles, all that glitters is not gold. So all that glitters would be a verb.
So gold is non-count noun, right?
Right.
Oh, thank you.
Okie doke. Any other questions on the homework? Very good. Then let's go in here. I want to talk about pronoun topics a bit. I know you've already seen the presentation, but there's just a couple of things I want to make sure that we're clear about. And so I'm going to throw this up as a slideshow. And I want you to think about this. You've seen it in the video, but let's go over it again. We've all been told ever since we were little kids, at least if you went to school in the US, since we were little kids, we've been told that pronouns replace nouns. And that's not incorrect, but it's not really true. At least when we get to the point of being, looking at things linguistically. It's much more appropriate to say that pronouns replace noun phrases. Okay? And the thing that you may find strange, you will see about this later, but when you're talking about linguistics, a single word may be a phrase. In the common use of the word phrase, we usually think of a group of words, but linguistically, we can break it down to get down to a single word. So in this case, we see that him is replacing Joe and he is replacing John. So it is replacing nouns, that's true. However, it's not precise enough. John kicked the ugly old dog. If we were going to use the rule from up here, we would have to say John kicked the ugly old it, and that just wouldn't fit, right? What we would have to replace it with, or what we would have to replace by it, is going to have to be the whole thing there, the ugly old dog. We couldn't say the ugly it, the it. We have to replace that whole group of words, that whole phrase with it. John kicked the ugly old dog, or John kicked it. You follow me? Everybody follow along with that? John kicked the it doesn't work. John kicked it is the only thing that really works. Something I want you to make a mental note of is this use of an asterisk here. I will oftentimes put an asterisk in front of a phrase or a sentence that is not grammatically correct, simply to make sure that you're aware that this would not be a typical grammatical sentence. And so the John kicked the ugly old it doesn't work, nor does John kick the it. But when we get down to John kicked it, we're back to a normal good sentence, even though it's very short. Okay? And in reality then, the real rule is that pronouns replace noun phrases. Not just nouns, but noun phrases. And to make this really clear, sometimes a noun phrase is just that noun. So we've got to pay attention to a couple of these new rules and new ways of looking at things. Now, at this point, I sent everybody a practice worksheet. Okay, I'm going to jump out of here. And that practice worksheet, hopefully you've got access to it, or you got it out, printed it from your mail, or you can get at your mail now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go in here, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 9, 11. So I'm going to go in here, and I am going to make.
Now, which will you show us which worksheet? Because you have so many papers.
Well, it's the one that says pronoun practice at the top. I don't have a printed copy of it.
It was sent via email yesterday.
Yeah, it was sent by email yesterday, and it says pronoun practice.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Sweet. All right, so I'm going to make 4 breakout rooms, and I'm going to assign it automatically, so it'll just be random. And how many questions are on there? I think I've got 12 and 2, 14 total. I'm going to give you 10 minutes, okay? And I want you to work out together. What you're supposed to do in the first case is you're going to be replacing noun phrases with pronouns, appropriate pronouns. And the last couple at the bottom, you're going to have pronouns that you're going to replace with a noun phrase, just kind of the opposite. Okay? So I will let you work together, and I'm going to make it 8 minutes instead of 10. So I'll make it 8, and I will see you as soon as you're back, and then we'll talk over the answers.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, just give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up on my computer. I forgot to print it last night. Usually I print everything I need for the week on Sundays, and I forgot to.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Nice.
How's everyone doing?
Just turn your paper.
Replace the underlined word or words with a proper pronoun. So John went to the store. We could say,
He won?
we could say he went to the store.
Yeah.
He brought some eggs while he bought some eggs while he was there.
What do we replace?
What word would you guys like to put there?
I think I put it.
It
It.
brought it while he was there.
I
Okay.
think you must just delete the word some maybe for this. But he bought eggs while he was there.
Okay.
Says replace the underlined words. Underlined word is the some X with a proper pronoun. So he bought some eggs, plural, but we see the animal eat it. We don't have a plural. We just say it. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Bought egg.
You can put a Z in the third one. John from Colorado. Oh, okay. So it's a he, not a Z.
He went fishing for rainbow trout.
Yeah.
He didn't catch a single fish.
So it.
So he didn't catch it.
Yes.
Sally and I went to the movies in Boulder. We went to
The.
we
The. Oh, we. Oh, okay.
we
Sure. We. He bowed deeply to the Queen of England and kissed her hand. So we replaced the Queen of England with her and kissed her and kissed her hand.
Okay. Jenny wants you and I to send cards to Jim. She wants us to send cards to him.
Correct. The next one is Carlo and the Shu went to medical school. So we replace the Carlo and the Shu with they.
Yes. Bill and Ed miss them.
This one is tricky. Okay, so maybe the he. Bill
And I.
and he miss them.
You can say Bill and I, maybe.
Bill and I miss them.
How do you
Bill
know it's I?
and,
Bill and I. Bill and Bill and he. Maybe still Bill and I. Yeah. Bill and I miss him. Yeah. Maybe Bill and you.
the big red dog on the porch bit the child.
We bit the child.
He bit the child.
What he? It.
It bit the child. Okay.
The jury is still deliberating. Jury.
They are still deliberating.
No, you don't change anything. You don't change anything. What's your thought, Wendy? Mandy?
The jury
she's
is
mute.
still
The jury. Maybe we put a she or her.
Usually a jury is more than one person, so that's why I changed the word is to are.
You don't change anything. It could be it, but I don't think it's wrong. It's still deliberating. So maybe I put her.
Okay.
Not her, he.
Okay.
He. So the jury members have not returned yet.
is
The
You can say they have not returned.
right.
All right. Okay. Replace the underlined program.
Mandy, you want to do the next part?
Okay.
Don't let Mandy do it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Motive. They want something for their anniversary.
Yeah, you do the reverse.
They want.
We just add a noun, just create a noun, 2 nouns.
They want something for their anniversary. I don't know what we should change.
Who and
here.
who want something for their anniversary? You got it? Who and who? Like the color and the shoe or went to medical school, you just put the name. You got it? The baby color and the shoe is fine, but you can use another name too. Another names too.
Have you guys already did the first one?
I'm still thinking about it. I don't know what's really changed for that.
I think you would just use like, so you would be like, Ariel and Mandy want a gift for their anniversary.
Oh, like the something
Or-
to something. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was too early.
Oh, well, that's okay. Best way not to be late is be early. Okay, so this shouldn't have been particularly difficult. I bet you have had this done in less time than I gave you. But what I wanted to do was, I've got a point in all of this, so let's just run through a couple of these. I'm gonna just, how did you replace John?
He,
Very good. Worked great. So here we've got a noun, John, proper noun. We can replace it with a pronoun he. We can also call John a noun phrase, which we will definitely be doing soon. How about he bought some eggs? What did you replace with some eggs?
It.
I don't know that it's gonna work because it's plural.
them,
I think them probably works good, it works better, but I also know that if you were thinking about a box of eggs, then that would work with it. But typically, in this particular case, we've got plural versus singular. But the idea is we replaced it with a single word, either it or them. How about John from Colorado? He. There we have it again. Now we've got a whole clear noun phrase there that we can replace with a single idea or with a single pronoun. So we say he went fishing for rainbow trout. How about he didn't catch a single fish, a single fish?
Any.
Any? That's a good one. What else? Anyone?
Anything?
Anything is another good one.
Can it be either one of them, like, or
Yeah.
is it? Okay, because I thought anything is like the same thing.
They're very close to the same. So he didn't catch any was a good answer. He didn't catch anything was a good answer. How about we could also even probably use something like he didn't catch one, but I like any or anything best. Sally and I,
We.
very good. How about this one? He bowed deeply to the Queen of England and kissed her hand. Kayla, I see your face right there. He bowed deeply to the Queen of England and kissed her hand.
See, me and Teresa were a little confused on that one.
He's
Yes.
there. But how about the Queen of
No.
England?
Oh, we just put her.
Great. So we've got a single word replacing a fairly long phrase there. And how about her hand?
That's where we were confused
What would you?
because her hand already seems shortened, and then if you say his it,
Sounds a little goofy, but we could replace her hand with it, right? Her hand would definitely be an it if we needed to change something. So yes, I agree. When I said He bowed deeply to her and kissed it. I agree, it sounded kind of weird, but her hand is a noun phrase. We could replace it with a pronoun. Let's see. I think I'm going to go down to Michaela. What about this one that says the jury is still deliberating?
We said it.
It, that's what I would have used. And how about the jury members have not returned yet?
We said they.
They, very good. Exactly what I would have expected. All right. Now, in the next one, I've got some pronouns. Replace it with something that's a multi-word noun phrase. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go, Ariel, they want something for their anniversary. What could you replace with multi-word phrases for they and for something?
This is the part where we was like a little stuck at.
Okay.
At first, I had said like you could use two names.
Great. So give me two names. Oh, you muted yourself.
Ariel and Trey. And then for some,
Ariel and Trey want.
and then I said a gift
Perfect.
for their anniversary.
Doesn't that work?
Yep.
Doesn't that work? Now, I was sitting around going, the married couple want luxury wristwatches for their anniversary. Same thing though, right? We're going to have to name them, the married couple or Ariel and Trey. And then on the other hand, we could change something to be a gift or luxury Rolex watches from China if we wanted to. All right. She gave it to them. Ah, man, I'm running. Oh, there she is, for sure.
I said Jane gave money to John.
Perfect. I like that thought. I like it much better than John gave money to her. Oh, that's cool. Something is burning. Aiden, what do you got?
So the mansion is burning.
The mansion is burning. Super. How about anybody can do it, Emma?
Would it be I don't know if it would work like they can do it, or would it be replaced for a name?
Could be anything. Anybody can do it. You could say something like the students can do it, or all the people in the world can do it. But what did you put in for it?
That's the one I was having trouble with.
What can anybody do? Anybody can do grammar. Anybody can do grammar. Okay, so the idea here, though, that I want you to get a hold of is we're going to take those pronouns. Sometimes they replace a single word. Sometimes they replace a whole bunch of words, right? If I said the big black dogs on the porch in Chicago eat hot dogs, I could say they eat hot dogs. I take that whole big long thing and replace it with just a single word. The big black dogs in Chicago could be they eat hot dogs, all right? Okay, so that was what I wanted you to kind of get out of that. And then Rachel.
Ariel says the jury is plural. So the jury is still deliberating. I think it's good to put a he, right? It's people.
Well, I think you could say it. Yeah, you could say it, because it's usually a jury is going to be more than one person. But you can think of the jury as a single thing, or like in the second sentence, the jury members, then you know you're talking about something plural. But many people would say they are still deliberating to talk about the jury, thinking of them in terms of being many people. But the second one is definitely plural because we've talked about jury members.
So the jury, the first one could be it and it could be he, right?
I don't think it could be he because a jury is going to be 12 people. So to call it he is probably not going to be okay. They would be fine. So it or they.
They are?
Yeah. But I think it is probably a little better, but I could certainly see where we would say they are.
Okay.
Hey, Professor.
Yes.
So I was looking through your pronoun mind map, and then like I Googled it, and it looks like different people have different opinions on what like the types of pronouns are. And I was kind of wondering, in brief, I hope this is a good time to ask, do all pronouns go under the categories of personal and indefinite? Is that an umbrella over everything, or is that not? Because it says basic categories of pronouns.
Basic categories of pronouns would be personal pronouns or indefinite pronouns. Depending on how you like to slice and dice things, you could come up with some additional categories.
Okay.
We've got them in there in terms of subject pronouns and object pronouns and possessive pronouns, which we're going to see in a little bit. So I would say that you could probably say personal and what was the other one? Impersonal. Let's see. I lost the word. Personal pronouns and impersonal. Indefinite. That's the word. Okay, gotcha. So that would probably cover just about everything. The other things are some individual forms that they may take. We is a subject pronoun for you and me, but it's still a personal pronoun, and it's still a personal pronoun if you said he gave it to us, which would still be a personal pronoun.
Things like demonstrative pronouns, possessive, indefinite, are those things we should be committing to memory, or is it not that sort of?
We're about to go talk to the demonstrative pronouns.
Okay. Oh, hang on then. We can. Yeah.
Okay, that's where we're going next. That one is the one that I think people will find a bit confusing. I mean, every semester, people basically find this next idea very confusing because we are talking about the same words and we're using them very differently. I don't think I'm sharing that. Let's see here. Let me share this. Here. And all right, share. Where? There we go. And I want to continue on with pronoun topics. So look at this one. We're going to talk about this. You're going to see it talked about again in the Wednesday videos. And we're going to spend some time again on Wednesday with this idea. However, we have pronouns that are clearly pronouns. Things like mine and yours and his and hers. Those are personal possessive pronouns because remember a pronoun is going to replace a noun phrase. And if I just use the word my, which many people will call a pronoun, but it really is not, because I can't replace anything with my other than maybe the word the or something like that. In one case, mine represents my something. So I could say that cat is mine. Or I could say that cat is my cat. In the case of mine, I'm replacing the noun phrase my cat with the word mine as a pronoun. But if I use the word my, it's not replacing. Ow! It is simply describing which cat.
I was playing in yo-yo
the same thing happens with yours.
Can you take him out, man? Huh?
Really gets difficult.
Then
because
how?
they're talking about the same exact word. In this case,
I need
what are
help.
called
I need help. I gotta use
English
that.
has
I
four
do.
demonstratives. Okay? And those four are
Sticky
this,
hands. Sticky hands to the rescue. Get
and the
someone
plurals of
to
those
help.
two. This and that, these and
Sticky
those.
hands, get to us.
But what I want to make sure is sometimes we use this to describe which one we're talking about.
Make
And sometimes we
that.
use
Make
this
it super
to
tight.
replace a noun phrase. I'm hoping that you can see me in the thing, because I can't see myself. Let's see if I can switch up here.
What did I even do?
Show you. demonstrate. Yeah, there we go. So here you go. I can, what can I
You
call
want
this?
it to be a
Pen, right? A-N, pen. But I can also call it this pen,
lunchtime soon.
correct? I like this pen. In that case, I am not talking about a pronoun, I'm talking about a determiner. It's used very much like the pen, but it's telling me which one. This pen. Just like I said, my cat, this pen. Now, I can also, if when we were talking, I could say, I like this. What does that mean? If I said, I like this pen, or I change it and I say, I like this, what am I talking about? I'm still talking about this pen, right? In one case, I just described which one when I say this pen. But if I replace the words this pen with this, then it becomes a pronoun. And so it's kind of creepy and it's kind of hard to grasp. But I could also say the same thing. If I looked at Rachel's house, I see that flower. I think it's up in the corner, right?
Uh-huh.
In Rachel's house, there is that flower. I could also say in Rachel's house, there is that. And in that particular case, that is really standing for that flower. It's just changed from being a determiner, telling me which one, to being a replacement. And then it becomes a one-word replacement for that flower. Okay? Now, how many people really wish I hadn't even brought this up? Oh, I don't have any hands, so you guess you like it. Okay, great. So what I want you to do is I want to think about looking at this, and as normally I do it as a small group exercise, but I think we're going to just do it here together. I'm going to have a couple things. I've got possessive pronouns and possessive determiners, and I have demonstrative pronouns and demonstrative determiners. And what we need to do is, what is the rule that governs which one we see, particularly when we're talking about demonstrative pronouns down here? Look at what we have. I want this. In this case, this must be this what? If I look at the other one, I want this car. In that case, this car, if I use this car as the two words, it's going to be a determiner. It's a word telling me about the word that follows. This car. But I can also change it around and say, I don't need to say this car. I could replace the noun phrase, this car, with just the word this. And when it replaces both, it becomes a pronoun. Look at it above, and the one that's just above it. That is my dog. Okay? That is my dog. And I could also say that dog is mine. Looking at the first one, that is my dog. What kind of a word is that? Is it a demonstrative pronoun or a demonstrative determiner? Rachel, what do you think? That is my dog.
It's a demonstrative pronoun.
You're exactly right. Why is that? Because if I'm thinking about this other sentence over here, that dog is a noun phrase that's been replaced with that. Correct?
Yes.
Exactly. Now, we can also look at this and go, that is my dog, and that dog is mine. In the first case, my dog, my is going to be a possessive determiner. It's telling us which dog. And in the second case, when it says that dog is mine, the word mine is replacing what? It's replacing the whole noun phrase, my dog. So, as you're going through this, try to keep that straight. They are different. Mine and my are not interchangeable words, and this are not interchangeable in meaning all of the time. You're going to get some more practice with this. I'll probably talk about it some more in the videos. I don't recall for sure, but we will definitely talk about it again on Wednesday. Okay? But remember that we've got these things called determiners, and they may look a lot like the pronoun, but depends on how they're being used. And the same thing goes with these possessive words. One of them actually looks exactly the same, but for the most part, there is a difference between the pronoun form and the determiner form when we're talking about these kinds of words. Unfortunately, over here, that doesn't hold true. Okay? Now, let me suggest, I want you to remember that it's important to learn as much of these as you can, but I recognize that nobody can sit around and remember in one semester all of the possible rules that we end up talking about. Okay? And so a wise person has told me on more than one occasion, it's not always what you remember, it's what you can find out. And so remember that we're going to have an open book exam. If open book, open notes, open internet, open everything except another person. And what I want you to get out of that is the idea that you're not going to remember all of this stuff. I don't remember it all, and I teach this thing every semester, and I just kind of come back to it. Oh, yes, I forgot about that. I see it, but I also know where to look it up, right? We talked about this, I think, on the first day. Where do you go to look it up? Well, glossary was something that somebody said. You could look it up in the index. You can look it up on the internet. So I'm not so set on you remembering every little detail as much as I am remembering what you can and being able to apply what you can find in any resource. Okay? So that's kind of my idea for the day. You're going to have an open book test. I know you won't remember everything, but I can also tell you that you probably won't find time to say, oh, I can look up every single answer on the exam. Because you could look up every single answer, but it's going to take you forever. And you're going to have a very hard time remembering where to find it. So what you want to do is, in reality, make sure you remember what you can, remember how to look things up, and how to apply them, because you will have applied them in class. Okay.
Are we going to have an exam preview?
Exam review. I'm going to give you some of the. I'm going to tell you exactly what's on the exam, and I'm going to give you a couple practice questions so that you can try it out. And so we're actually going to do that in class probably within another week or two, so that you know exactly what's going to be on there, and you will have had an opportunity to practice it and see what works, what's good, and what's not. Okay? I'm going to just sit here until you all hang up.
Can you tell us how to prepare for the lesson plan? You see, February 15, I didn't get my book yet.
You didn't get a book yet? Well, I'm not sure what to tell you. You got to get a hold of that book, and you've got to get a hold of the workbook. What I'll tell you what.
No, I mean the grammar book. I have those two books.
Oh, you have the work. Oh, that one.
Yeah, I have both.
Oh, you want to know another grammar book?
Yeah.
Oh. Actually, I think this one suits us the best. I actually really think that this particular book, for the way we're going to attack it and what we want to do, is probably your best bet. I mean, you could go out and look up all kinds of grammar books, but I'm not sure that they're going to help you very much.
Okay, so may I make ask for the fast delivery?
I'm sorry?
I think I'm going to ask for the delivery.
Okay.
Fast delivery. Thank you.
If we don't have any questions, should we hit the road?
You're free to hit the bricks if you don't have any questions.
Thank you. See you on
Okay.
Wednesday.